guys, Julian from Evolution Australia. Today I'm going to be talking you through the procedure of how to remove a head unit from a ZE1 Nissan LEAF. Today the tools that we'll be using are a bone tool, commonly known as a trim removal tool, and a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. During the procedure I'll also be showing you how to fit one of our band expanders so that you can enjoy all of your radio here in Australia. The first part of the removal process involves us removing this side panel from the side of the dashboard. In order to do that, we use our flat-ended trim removal tool to pull the panel off. What we do is we come in through the side here and gently lever on the plastic until it comes free. From here, you'll notice that there's a Phillips screw on the side, and we'll use our Phillips number 2 to take that loose. It's always a good idea to use magnetic tip screwdrivers because these screws like to go missing. Then, using a small amount of force, we'll remove the front left air vent, gently prying off. After you've removed the air vent, we're faced with another Phillips screw in the top left corner just here. Using our screwdriver, we'll remove that now. Again, making sure we keep these screws safe for later. Alrighty. After we've removed both of the screws, we'll use a gentle pulling motion to lift the top panel free from the dashboard. Now the plastic on these is quite flexible, but you'll still want to be careful with it because the clips can break. There we go. So as you see, this panel is a single piece of plastic which runs all the way across to the middle of the car. So we'll want to pull up from here and make sure that the clips come up on the middle of the car as well. There we go. Now, before removing this piece, you'll notice that there is an electrical connector in the top used for the hazard light switch. So make sure that comes off nicely before we remove the piece. So that's where that goes, just in there. We'll set this aside for reassembly later. Then from here, we'll take another look at the lower part just underneath the radio, and we'll take it further. Right. So the next part of the removal process involves removing a top plastic trim which sits on top of the head unit. To do this, we simply pull up gently and it comes away from its clips. The second part of the removal process is to remove the lower HVAC controls which will grant us access to the lower screws. In order to do this, you can use your hands or your plastic trim removal tool to gently pry up, pulling the HVAC assembly away from the center of the dash. You may need to use a little bit of force because often these have never come out of the car before. When you've got that much space, you're generally okay. You don't need to remove anything more from there. Now what I like to do is with a piece of bubble wrap, place that underneath the HVAC control to make sure nothing gets scratched. From here, we're now granted access to the 2 top Phillips screws and the lower screws. In order for you to get a little bit more space to work when the head unit itself comes out, we can indeed remove the lower HVAC controls to give us a little bit more space. In order to do this, there's a plastic tab on the very top of the connector. Simply press down and pry away gently. Set that aside. Now that we've got a little bit more room, we'll take our number 2 Phillips And we'll work our way around the 4 screws that affix the head unit to the car. Now you'll want to keep track of these because they can fall down into the dash. There we go. So the removal of these units from the dash requires a little bit of force as well, but you just want to be careful. So these currently sit on a few little locating dowels at the very top of the head unit. This can sometimes be a little bit stuck, but with a little bit of persistence and some patience, these will come free. Again, just being careful with everything. What we do, when the unit can come free, we'll place it down on our bubble wrap, which gives us access to all the connectors on the back of the unit. If you're planning on sending this unit to us for conversion, the removal process for these connectors is pretty straightforward. They're all color coded and you can't plug them into the wrong places. One thing to note though, is if you pull this head unit out, you can indeed use your car in the meantime, but you just want to make sure that you put that top panel back on so that you've got the function of your hazard light switch if you need it. On receiving your head unit back from conversion, you will receive a band expander which will allow you to enjoy Australian FM channels here. So what we do to fit that is we take the original FM radio aerial connector from the back of the unit, we insert the male end into the female side of the connector, like so, and we insert the male end of the connector back into the head unit. These can sometimes be a little bit tight, but it's so that we know that there's a good fit. That's it. So refitting the unit is a reversal of disassembly. We make sure that we have nothing sitting at the top here that can be pinched as the head unit goes back into the dash. We make sure everything's nice and clear. Lining up those little locating dowels at the top of the head unit. It simply goes back into position like that. What we'll do is we'll take our 4 screws, fitting them back into the unit. Keeping in mind that the head unit does sit in a relatively soft plastic shroud, so we don't need to tighten these up too much. So that's the head unit back into position. Next, we'll take our HVAC assembly, remembering to plug it in first. Simple as that. We can then line these here hooks up with the holes in the dash. Where it clicks back into position. Taking the top section of plastic, where that clicks back into. We'll then take our dashboard piece, remembering to plug the hazard light switch back in. This is long enough, so makes for easy refitting. Making sure that's not being caught. Taking our 2 Phillips screws that we removed previously, we'll refit the one at the top corner first. We'll then refit our air conditioning vent. Snaps back into place. Before replacing the fuse cover, we'll place our last Phillips screw back up into the top corner here. This screw itself physically screws into the aircon vent just there. That's it. Now getting these back in can be a little bit fiddly, so what you want to do is feed those 3 tabs into position first. Where it all snaps back into place. And that is how you remove a head unit from a ZA1 Nissan LEAF. Thanks for watching.
Excellent.